Hi guys, welcome back to Too Cool for Middle School. My husband and I just looked at a calendar and had a little bit of a panic attack. We both had to recount that's today? This one? This square right here and this is the day we go back to school? Okay. Yeah, it is coming up. There's 2 weeks basically until we go back to school. So yeah, I need to start planning. I have very much had my head in the sand this summer. I just haven't wanted to think about what going back to school is going to look like. There was a lot of debate about going back virtually or going back in a hybrid model or having kids 6 feet apart with masks on and everything. And even the conversation about it just really overwhelmed me. And I was like, I'm just gonna sit here in my apartment that I never leave and read books about the past and not think about the future. But now we have some answers and school's about to start and we need to get going. So I will be teaching the same stuff that I taught last year, which is 8th grade English and 6th grade history. And as of right now, it's all going to be virtual. I don't know if that will last the entire school year, but as we start off, that's how it's gonna be. We're still playing around a little bit with a schedule and maybe doing more of a block schedule type thing so that we don't have all 7 periods every day. That just sounds a little bit overwhelming. So I'm glad about that. I've gotten a few questions about returning to school virtually and I'm like, I don't know, you guys. I have never done this before either. And it is quite overwhelming, but for me, sometimes I like to look at things in threes. I'm not really sure why, but sometimes if I'm okay, if I can get these 3 things done in a day or these 3 projects done before school starts or whatever, then that kind of helps me wrap my mind around things. So as I prepare to go back to school virtually, these are the 3 things that I am working on. Number 1 is for my 6th grade history classes. I'm a little bit extra nervous because at the moment we don't have a textbook or any kind of curriculum. So that's fun. That makes this, even more exciting. So last year we were in the process of piloting and then eventually adopting some online curriculum or curriculum that had an online component to it, but we were obviously interrupted in March and so we didn't get a chance to look at the final publisher. It was National Geographic. So we did get a chance to pilot, I think it was Discovery, and before that we had History Alive, I think. Everything is sort of muddling in my brain. So I don't know, I just ended up doing a lot of stuff on my own because last year's curriculum was quite messy just to get our brains around even before we started teaching virtually with 5 minutes notice. So anyway, as I go into next year, really not even knowing what curriculum is going to be available to me and available to my students, the way that I'm just looking at it to start planning is by having an essential question. My coworkers and I kind of developed this essential question last year in some of our planning meetings. And the one that we have been working from is, how and why do civilizations rise and leave a lasting impact? So since I teach ancient civilizations and it covers a really wide range of time and place, we have to have a pretty wide essential question, something that can relate to all of the different civilizations that we cover. So in our curriculum or our standards or whatever, we start with early man, which is not my forte actually. I'll show you what I've been reading to help me with this. I could sort of count this as a 4th thing, but not really. But this book, I started it last year. I'm just halfway through. I need to finish this one, but it's called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. It's a New York Times bestseller. A lot of people have read this one, but it is really long and it's a little bit hard to kind of distill these ideas down into a 6th grade lesson plan, but that is what I'm trying to do. So if I'm successful at that, I will let you know. So anyway, that's kind of like the intro to the course. And then we get into actual civilizations, because like early humans didn't really have civilizations. That's why, you know, these early civilizations were so impressive. So beginning with like ancient Mesopotamia, let me see here. We cover ancient Mesopotamia, which has like 5 or 6 civilizations within it. Ancient Egypt, ancient Kush / Nubia, the ancient Hebrews, ancient India, ancient China, ancient Greece, and ancient Rome. That's just like what's within our standards to cover. So this essential question works for all of those groups. How and why do civilizations rise and leave a lasting impact? And it gives me a little bit more of a framework to work from, because really with a lot of these civilizations, it's hard to find information, for one thing. It's hard to then make that information relevant. And then sometimes you just find like really interesting information about the pyramids or something, but it feels disconnected from everything else that you're talking about. And just because you cover so many geographical areas and so many people and so many cultures and so much time, I feel like it can be hard for students sometimes to like wrap their minds around what you're doing. So I think with this essential question, if I'm really staying true to it from the beginning of the year all the way through the end, then this will really help them. So the way that I kind of look at this question, if we actually kind of go to like the middle, so why did these civilizations rise? The way that I look at the why is like, what natural advantages did they have? Did they live near a river? Did they have fertile soil? Did they have access to the ocean? Did they have mountains that provided them with fresh water, or mountains that provided a natural barrier against enemies? Things like that. So the why is generally going to relate to the geography and like natural resources, which is a really interesting thing to look at with ancient civilizations anyway. But we know that that's not all there is to it. So then with the how and why did these civilizations rise, the how is more of like what they purposefully did. What strategies did they use to take control of certain areas, or to gain power, or to gain a trade advantage? What was their system of government? Was this a stable system? Did their religion play a part in supporting some of the ideas surrounding their government? Things like that. So as we study, say, ancient Egypt or ancient India, we will be keeping those same things in mind. And I think I'm also going to create some kind of like a notebook where my students can keep a list of these things as we go. So I do have on Teachers Pay Teachers just these slides with that essential question. You could use mine if you want to, or there are blank slides where you could just add your own essential question, and they're all for like this course, like an ancient civilizations course. So I want to keep that essential question at the front of my students' minds as they're learning, and at the front of my mind as I'm teaching, and probably like, you know, kind of creating my own curriculum. And the last part of that question is, how did they leave a lasting impact? So I really want to connect these ancient civilizations to, we always say like to connect things like to today, to current events, but also like any time in between now and then is like a lasting impact as well, you know? So I'm trying to keep that in mind this year as well, that anytime I want to make like connections to the lasting impact part, it doesn't always have to be to like a news article that is literally occurring right now. It could really be any time in between those things. But I definitely do want to put more effort and intentionality into creating connections to current events this year. I feel like I always say that, but this year I want to be really much more intentional about it. And I guess this is like 3 things that we're focusing on with this essential question. So the how, the why, and then that lasting impact. So again, for some reason, just like having those 3 things helps me to stay focused. And then something that I started doing last year was just using that essential question for the unit assessment. And I really only did this like at the end of the year. It only occurred to me to do it at the end, so I hadn't done it since the beginning of the year, but this is what I'll do this year. And that was the question. So like for ancient China, how and why did China rise as a civilization, and what are their lasting impacts? So really there would be 3 parts to the question. I think I'm going to create this on like a Google form or a slide or something and just have those 3 sections, and students can use the notes that they were taking throughout our study of the civilization and then just put that into their own words. So again, I'm still in the planning stages of this, but I have like a path before me. These are the 3 things that I really want to focus on for my students, and that will help me as I'm kind of like piecing together a curriculum to teach ancient civilizations. So if anybody else out there teaches ancient civilizations, ancient history, let me know. I feel like this is the hardest subject to come up with good resources for on your own. There's tons of stuff for US history. There's quite a bit for like modern history or just like world history in general, but ancient civilizations is just harder. Like there are less webinars going on this summer that relate to our content. It's just a little bit harder to find like good resources, which is why though, I feel like keeping that essential question in mind is going to be really helpful. The second thing that I am definitely doing, again, this is my favorite, just like classroom organization and communication strategy, is my daily Google Slides. I started doing these several years ago. To be honest, I'm not like the most technologically innovative person, but I remember the moment sitting on my couch a couple summers ago and realizing if I just made a Google Slides presentation and I added a slide to the top for each day of the school year, then my students would be able to see all of our lessons, parents would be able to see them, I would have this running record, and I would only need to share that link one time, and students could get back to that same presentation with that one link anytime they wanted. I could send it out to any parents who wanted like an update of the things that we were doing every day. Because Google Classroom, honestly, like it gets a little bit cluttered. It's kind of hard to see just like at a glance the things that you did every day. But anyway, I just remember like thinking like, this is brilliant. I am just gonna make these Google Slides presentations. And then like since then I've seen a million people create their own Google Slides presentations. We must have all like had the idea at the same time. But having these daily agendas works wonders. I've made a couple other videos about this. I've presented on this over the past couple of years because it's just such a game changer. I used to write things down on a calendar and then like make a little announcement separately every day on Google Classroom. That's not the most effective way to do it. The best way to do it is to just have a Google Slides presentation. I make little templates for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I have a section on there for stuff that we're gonna do in class, stuff that we're gonna do for homework, and this may change now a little bit since we're doing online learning. I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna go. I know that it's looking like I'm gonna see some students on like Mondays and Fridays, and then other students on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Wednesdays are for like small group meetings, so I'm not really sure exactly how that's gonna work out. So my Google Slides for any particular class might end up being like a Monday, Friday, okay, or like a Monday / Tuesday, and then a Thursday / Friday. I might have to tweak these a little bit, but this is like my #1 tip, especially if you have like middle school or high school students who have many classes to keep track of, and sometimes they're like not sure if they were supposed to finish something, like was that homework, and then parents aren't sure like what happened in class, or if they do have any homework, if they say they don't have anything for homework today, are they lying? Or did the teacher really say, no, we're gonna finish this tomorrow, you don't have to do it for homework? And those are all the things that I write on the slides. So then students are able to see it, parents are able to see it, and it has just cut down so much on confusion when kids are absent, when parents wanna know what's going on. I mean, like, it seems like every year I'll have 1 or 2 frustrated parents that come in and they're like, can you please email me every day what you did in class and whether or not there was homework so that I can stay on top of my kid? And that question used to just be like, can I remember to do that every day? I don't know. I really used to hate getting that question, but now I'm just like, absolutely. In fact, I will send you this link. It's a bit.ly even, so that it's nice and short and memorable, and you can click on that anytime and see everything that we've done. And you can see it every day. It is so convenient. I have had one parent, I will admit, like go through it with a fine-tooth comb and say that like I didn't teach something that I said I taught because on the agenda, like it's not super detailed. It's just kind of like the basic title of the lesson or the things that we're gonna do or the short story that we're reading or the pages that they're supposed to work on. So there's definitely details that are left out or like conversations you might end up having, you know, in class that weren't listed on the agenda because you kind of take it in a different direction depending on what your students are interested in. So you may feel the need to make that clear because occasionally someone decides to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and question your teaching, but whatever. Overall, it is very useful. Highly recommend. I've got a bunch of different templates and I may be making some new ones that fit more with block schedule-y virtual learning type of stuff as I get more information about what that's gonna look like for me, because I'm not even 100% sure yet. Okay, so those two things, yes, doing those, that makes me feel a little bit more prepared for the school year. The last thing that I'm gonna do before I go back to school is attend some of the sessions from Camp Engage, which is like a fun version, right? Camp Engage of professional development put on by Vocabulary and Nearpod. Both of those platforms have been my favorites for quite a while, and then they like merged and they're under the same company now, like they're both under Nearpod. And really, like, I'm just gonna have to do every day using Nearpod next year, I think. Nearpod and Pear Deck are like very similar platforms, but they're both like interactive slides, so it's kind of like a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides presentation, but within it you just have more capabilities for like collaboration, where kids can have discussions or they can take a quick quiz to see if they've understood the concept so far, or they can like draw a representation of their understanding so far, or they can all like watch a video at the same time, like jumping off of the same slide. And you can do this like all together. Like you could teach from these slides when you're doing a virtual class, or you can just like give them the code and they can do it on their own. But either way, it ends up being really useful for online learning. I did use it quite a bit at the end of last school year as I was, you know, scrambling to figure out how to teach online at a moment's notice. They can do like these really fun games within Nearpod. They're just really fun. And then they do have a capability to like put your existing Google Slides straight into Nearpod so that they become interactive lessons. So what I've mostly used from Nearpod are their pre-made lessons. And I have a video actually with like my favorite, a collection of my favorite lessons from Nearpod that I've used in the past. And I think I always have like a discount code in my description if you ever want to get started with Nearpod. Hopefully more schools will spring for it this year if they haven't in the past, if you're switching over to virtual learning. But yeah, they have these like pre-made lessons that all the ones that I have used are really good and really useful and very like collaborative and interactive and everything. So the part that I'm going to work on with the last bit of my summer, step number 3 for preparation, is just working on creating my own slides for my own content. So, you know, that I can kind of use like a mix of both. So Camp Engage is like at the beginning of August. I think they're trying to, you know, put some stuff out there before most of us go back to school. I know some people go back to school like really early in August also. We go back like the 14th or 12th or something. So they're gonna have a bunch of like sessions, webinars, interactive opportunities. So even though I've like used these platforms, there's still a lot that I want to learn about how to use them even more effectively, especially for virtual learning. So definitely gonna go to some of those sessions. I also find that it's helpful for me as a teacher to go to some of these like webinars or online PD opportunities and stuff, because I just see people doing things that I haven't done before. You know, like I remember the first time I was in a Zoom where they did like a breakout room, and I hadn't done that before. I didn't really understand how it worked. So it's kind of nice to do it as a participant first and just see what type of things keep you engaged, and then, you know, maybe some of the things that bore you and don't keep you engaged at all, so that you have a few more tools to like pull from when you're creating your own lessons, just so that you know what it feels like from like the student perspective. So in the next couple of weeks, I've got to fit all that in. I'm working on that essential question as I build history curriculum. Definitely using my Google Slides, possibly updating those to work a little bit better for block schedule, and then attending some of those webinars and PDs to help me to use Nearpod and vocabulary a little bit more. I mean, that'll definitely keep me busy, and I always have like multiple side projects going on at the same time too. So I don't know, I've got to figure out a way to get all of this stuff done. So since I was feeling pretty stressed out and like, how is this all gonna be possible? I just had to break things down into threes. And these are the 3 things that I am actively working on. So hopefully that was helpful to you, as all of us are kind of scrambling to get ready for back to school this year, and it looks so much different. One bonus thing, I also created like a Bitmoji virtual classroom. That was kind of fun. It's just a Google slide. I made mine on a Google slide, and you just find pictures on the internet of furniture that you wish you could have, or flooring that you wish you could have, or a backdrop or whatever, and you can just insert that into your Google slide. You can use a background remover, and then you can go to like overstock.com or something and like find a cool chair, and then put it into a background remover little program, online thing, and then like save it as a PNG, and then you put it into your Google slide, and it doesn't have any of that background, and it just looks like you're putting it in your little classroom. So it's kind of fun. I just used a tutorial on Hello Teacher Lady's blog and followed her stuff, and then my friend Latanya had said that it looks better if you do like all real objects or all more clip art kind of illustrated objects. And I think that's right, because I was like following a hashtag like Bitmoji classroom just to get ideas and look at a bunch of them, and I think that is true. Either do it like all real stuff or all clip art, because if you have like a mix, that looks a little bit weird. And then you just put your little Bitmoji in there, and then it looks like a little classroom with you teaching in there. And then you can link like maybe your daily Google Slides to like a poster that says agenda that you put on your little virtual wall. If you have like a little bookshelf, you could link like, I don't know, your favorite books there, or some kind of assignment about books. I don't know, you can just like link all different things. I haven't really finished playing with it, but it was just a fun thing to do at like 1 in the morning one night after I'd seen so many people doing it. I just wanted to try it out. So anyways, I won't really be spending those days like setting up my classroom like I normally do this year for back to school. So I'll just be putting that time and energy into designing my virtual classroom and the curriculum and my classes in general, and you know, maybe that's a better use of my time anyway. So there's still a lot that I have to do. I'll definitely make some more like back to school videos. Let me know if there are any requests that you have down below. I've been making back to school YouTube videos for like 6 years, so you can scroll back on this channel and find many videos about preparing to go back to school. But now it's just all different, because everything, for me anyway, I know not everybody, but for us it's all virtual. So yes, I'll be making videos about that. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you are enjoying your summer as much as you can. I'm gonna go drink some more coffee and watch more of The Good Place for a few minutes before I get back to work. So anyway, thank you again for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.